Shalom, welcome to Out of Africa Torah session. My name is Tatwa Cohen, and this week we are on the Torah portion, Shelach, send on your behalf. This is coming from the book of Bamidbar, from 13 to 15. Well, this is also a very interesting and famous Torah portion, considering that many people know and some have tried to understand it. Well, we see that from the time the children of Israel left Ramses, left Egypt, until this moment when they were able to see the land, it didn't take so much time. It didn't take all these, over 40 years like we later read. But in this case, they were sent on last of the most important tasks. And then each leader is chosen to represent his tribe. Well, I like the sense of involvement, not just the best tribe, but every tribe was represented. And then they are given instructions, go and spy the land. You should see A, B, C, D. Moshe gives them some form of guidance. It's quite interesting that after they went, then they returned. And when they returned now, 10 of them gave a report, which was more like probably genuine report. They said exactly what they saw. And unfortunately, it was too literal. What they saw is exactly what was in their report. But then, except for Joshua and Caleb, who had given that's a good report. It became good because of something the rabbis tell us. And this is perspective. Perspective is very important. People have argued over, the expanse of the world, the earth, simply because they have different perspective. Well, today many dogmas have come up. Religions were born, some from others, simply on the issue of perspective. And not only that, today you may find even within the family, husband and wife are constantly fighting simply because they have a different perspective on certain things. It could be roles and tasks and so forth. Well, our rabbis tell us that in this case of the report, the 10 would have been, if they were to cast the lots, the 10 would have been voted, the best. They would have probably brought the right report, because how can 2 be against 10? And what they said is exactly what they saw. But the problem is their perception towards the land and towards the word which Moshe had given them. And this word Moshe had given them, it was actually from Hashem himself. So in other words, their report was okay, but it had a wrong perception towards God. And for these two, Joshua and Caleb, we are told their report was good, simply according to the rabbis, because their perception was right. They perceived God in a certain way, and that changed everything. So my message to you is very simple. The question is, how do you perceive your God? Well, especially when you're faced with challenges, and like today, the land of Israel is facing so many challenges. But you as an individual, what is your perception towards what God promises, towards what God can do, towards the people of God, towards anything that has to do with God? Finally, I like to put across that it actually says in the same Torah portion that when God punished them now to say, you are going to be wandering for the next 40 years. Well, this wasn't necessary. These 40 years wasn't necessary. But this, according to the rabbis, was to help them change their perception. And you can tell that they takes so much time for one to change their perception. No wonder it was necessary for such a long time for them. This is why we are also told by scholars that they left Egypt, but Egypt never left them. They still had Egypt in their mindset, in their perception. They perceived as if they were still in bondage. Well, Shabbat Shalom and thank you.